Hey everyone, and welcome to Light Your Lenses podcast. I remain your host, Stanley Annie, and I trust that this series has been an exciting one and an impactful one for you. So I just want you to relax because we are racing to victory. Yeah, we are. People sometimes underestimate the power of preparation. So in this podcast, we're going to deal on the subject, get set for success. It's one thing for you to discover your purpose, and it's another thing for you to prepare for the days ahead. Training days are very important. They are days where you have to work out your potentials. You have to work out every God-given gift until you're able to fulfill your purpose. So for the record, I asked you a question in the previous episode. I asked you if you're that rare man who would race to victory, if you're that exceptional man who would race to victory, and if you're that teachable person who would also race to victory. And the interesting part is that in a race, there's the command ready, set, and go. Just for us to understand that the ready, set, and go, it's actually a mindset beyond it being a command. Every athlete needs to focus intentfully during this moment because it is crucial to how he reacts and how he's efficient in the race. So today we're going to be looking at the worthy readiness of the athlete, how to get set for success. And in this case, the athlete is you. Today's command will be ready, set, and focus. Yeah, we're not going anywhere yet. It's going to be ready, set, and focus. I want to bring your understanding to something interesting I found during my study. You see, every track race takes place on various surfaces, which could include synthetic track. We have the grass, we have the cylinder tracks. Let me just say this at this point. You must understand that your calling is unique and different from every other person. Even though it might look similar to what someone is doing, but check it, there's something unique about yours that is not in that other person's vision. So you must understand that every track race takes place on various surfaces, and the texture of the surface determines the speed, determines how well a runner would go. And the synthetic tracks are the common ones which you see today, and they provide a fast and consistent surface for the athlete. But you must understand that as an athlete, your race, your track is quite different. For some of you, you might have to run on grass. For some of you, you might have to run on quicksand. For some of you, you might have to run on a muddy surface. For some of you, you might have to run on a synthetic surface. So it just depends. And why I'm saying all of this is so that you shift your focus or your attention from how much one person has achieved over what you've achieved, especially when it deals with your calling and your purpose. And the whole idea is for you not to easily get weary with what God has called you to do. This is something you want to deal with from the onset. So you understand that you are that rare gem, you're that exceptional person, you're that teachable person, but the field is different for every individual. Even if we're in the same field, for instance, if you're a techie and you're into front-end engineering, you discover that in that space alone, you have different framework attached to it. This is just to say that in every field, there's a different surface, and you don't have to beat yourself because you see your neighbor making more than you are. So it's important that we get ourselves set for success. Just like every track field has track lanes, every man has equal destinies. Let me say this again. Just like every track field has equal track lane, every man has equal destiny. Though unique, you are not lesser in purpose than any other person. You are not lesser in calling than any other person. You are not lesser in vision than any other person. I know we've grew up with the mindset of some people are born with silver spoon, some people are born with golden spoon, while we are born with wooden spoon. I get all of those things. That does not make you lower in destiny. That does not reduce your potential. That's why that does not reduce your potential. That's the main reason why I'm bringing this to the forefront. That whatever circumstance or environment you grew up in, it does not necessarily have to dictate your future or your purpose. Every man has equal destiny, but every man has a different purpose. The same opportunities would come as time goes by, but then you must learn to utilize what God has given you per season and per time. So what differentiates the men from the boys is the readiness of the individual. How ready are you to receive? When opportunities are thrown to you, how ready are you? How skilled are you to get those opportunities? You see, that's one of the things that believers fail to understand. You can easily compare one unto another, but you fail to comprehend the fact that God has given every single man an opportunity. And most times, people are not prepared when those opportunities come to them. This is why we're looking at the worthy readiness. This is why we're saying you have to get set for success. This is why we're saying you have to be ready, you have to be set, and you have to focus for you to achieve your purpose and what God has called you to do. Now, the track field varies, meaning that we cannot all run the same race, or we cannot all run on the same pedestal, or every man is given the opportunity to run. This is why I said that we're equal in destiny. Even though the surface might be different, each and every one of us, we've been given the privilege, we've been given the opportunity to race to victory. And victorious men are those who go through training, who go through preparedness, and by use have obtained victory. Every successful man knows that he's a success before he became a success. I was seated in a leaders meeting with my pastor, and my pastor began to explain to us that every single thing you want in life, every single thing you want to go in, you can actually visualize it, you can actually set it, you can actually get it. He said most times we feel the successful people, quote and unquote, are actually surprised at their success, but they are not, because there was a level of practice, a level of preparation that was geared towards them achieving those success. And this is very, very important for us. My question is, what is your readiness as an athlete? What is your readiness in view of your vision? Have you been training for it? Have you been working towards it? Have you been getting ready for whatever God has called you to do? What exceptional measures are you taking in your life? What exceptional trainings are you taking in your life? These are questions that you begin to ask yourself. These are questions that you begin to ponder on. And this will help you set yourself for success. No man gets wild being victorious. No, you work towards it, you plan towards it, you train towards it, and when the victory comes, you give the glory to God. The track surface you run on shows how much training and readiness is needed. For instance, if you're going to race on a muddy surface, you cannot sit and relax as much as someone running on a static surface, on a smooth surface will run, because you know yours will require lots of speed, lots of balance, a lot of consistency, and you being persistent. You see, athletes spend months or even years trying to prepare for their race. And this is one thing that believers must understand. When God has given you a vision, you don't just jump right into it. There's a level of preparedness that you must get involved in. Every athlete spends months. You don't spend days. It's not a one-day thing. It's not a one-day training. You don't just hit the gym today and come out with muscles tomorrow. No. He said every athlete spends months or even years preparing for a race. How much you preparing for your vision. There's a level of preparedness needed for you to achieve success. Never you rush because you caught a vision or a calling or a purpose. Never you rush. One thing you want to do is to take haste. You see, hastiness is one thing you want to take out from your life. I'm not saying you won't do things promptly. You will do things promptly, but you want to take hastiness out from your life. Not all athletes are trained for the same race distance. For instance, Usain Bolt is one of those runners we've seen on earth, and he runs a 100-meter dash, a 200-meter, and you must understand that he's not called to every kind of race. He's not called to every kind of race. We have people that run marathons. We have people that run a 100-meter dash. You have people that run a 200-meter, a relay race. You have people that run a 4x4, a 4x100. And you must understand that not all athletes, that is you, are trained for the same race. You must understand the vision God has given to you, and you must understand the demands of the vision, because it tells you how down your route should go. So you must understand the core of your vision. You must understand the core of your purpose and train towards it. In understanding your calling, you can tell if it's a 100-meter dash, if it's a 200-meter dash, if it's a 400-meter dash, if it's a 1.5 or a marathon. And by that, you can have a vivid picture of what your training season should look like. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9 from verse 24 to 25, it says, "Do you know that in a race all athletes or all the runners run, but only one gets the prize?" Then he says to us, he says, "You should run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training." You see, we celebrate people when they become successful, but we fail to understand that there's a backdrop to that success. We fail to understand that there are months of training, there are days of training, there are weeks of training towards that success. So Apostle Paul, speaking in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 from verse 24 to 25, he said, "Everyone who competes in this race goes into strict training." You can't take training out from developing yourself to becoming a success. You can't. You know, when we read the scripture that every single thing needed for life and for godliness is given unto us by God, sometimes we fail to understand that those things that we call life and godliness also involves training and process. It's not just the good things of life. You must also understand that the training and the process to achieving your cause is also part of those things needed for life and for godliness given unto you. Strict training is designed to build you. And how does it build you? It builds you to physical readiness. It builds you to mental capacity. It builds you to technical knowledge or technical know-how. It builds you to spiritual fervency. Yes, it does build you to spiritual fervency. Some people will be shocked about spiritual fervency. It depends on how far you're going. Honestly, it depends on how far you're going, because every successful person, every successful business, every successful individual responds to a deity. Whether you know it or not, they service an altar, they service a deity. And it's important that as believers, you are fervent. God has not called you in obscurity. There are devices in this world, so He knows. And for you to achieve every single thing God has called you to do, there's a level of spiritual fervency that you must have. Influence and affluence are given by the divine. Every single prominent person you see on earth, whether a believer or not, he's servicing an altar, he's servicing a deity, he's responding to a divine being. And one of the things that shook me was when my pastor began to speak about King David. And David said something very profound. He was done given to the work of God, to the building of the temple. And he said that everything that I have, everything that I own, the wealth, the riches that I have, is not mine because you gave it to me. Every single thing that he has was given to him by God. And this is why you see, when people win award, they start off by saying, "Oh, I want to thank God," because they understand that it's beyond their physical strength. So the things we have to build for us to get ready for success, like we said earlier on, is our physical readiness, is our mental capacity, is our knowledge, our technical know-how, and our spiritual fervency. These 4 things are crucial in being set for success. Now, one of the things we have to do is to, one, you want to write down your vision, and also you want to stay and set out goals. You want to set out goals, realistic goals. This will help you create a routine, and this routine becomes your training ground, where you're able to train day by day in view of the vision, in view of what God would have you do. Another thing I want to highlight for us is every single experience you have is geared towards training you for your purpose. For instance, Joseph faced trials, but in everything he did, he maintained his integrity, he maintained his faith, he maintained his course. Now, this is Joseph catching a glimpse of the future of people bowing to him, knowing that he's going to rise to the place of prominence, he's going to rise to the place of influence. He didn't know how that was going to happen, right? But God took him through a process where his brother sold him, he got to Potiphar's wife, he was locked up. Every single phase he went through was a training ground for him. Now, most of us, we go through experiences, we go through challenges, we go through storms, and we just give up. But at this point, I want to encourage you that you should push. Every single time Joseph was in prison, he understood that the vision would still come to pass. He understood that every single experience was a training for him. And he didn't lose touch of the vision. He didn't lose touch of his goals. He had his own routines. You see, every track athlete undergoes serious training, rigorous training. And if you know God has called you and you are going far, my brothers, my sisters, get ready for training. Let me encourage you at this point to get ready, to be beaten, to be battered, to be broken, but surely you'll come out strong. For you to get fine gold, you have to refine it. And in refining it, what happens is that the impurities begins to burn out. But then when it comes out as pure gold, it's something everyone wants. It's something that has values. What training does is that it molds us, it builds us, it takes out the impurity until we come out as individuals that have value. So I'd like to encourage you to give your best to the vision, to the calling, to the purpose. Give your all. So there's certain things I'm just going to highlight here. One thing God does for us in the place of prayer, right, is that He gives us visions, He gives us images, He gives us impression. Based on those impressions, I want you to set out your goals. I want you to write down your goals. You want to know, okay, from this time to this time, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to build in myself. This is what I want to see myself. I want to learn how to speak right. I want to learn how to do this. And you want to create a routine around it. You want to create something that works with you. So you're not just living your goals in a void. No, you're creating a routine, something that you can work with. And one of the things it does for you is that you eliminate distractions. And no one gets set for success without eliminating distractions. And routines will help you do that. So gradually, as you keep building, as you keep seeing pictures of what God would have you do, as you keep writing your goals, as you keep creating routines, you will not be prone to distractions easily. It's just one of the blessedness that comes with routines, right? Secondly, is for you to have daily disciplines. And daily disciplines cut across both your mental, your physical, your technical know-how, your spiritual fervency. It means that daily you have to touch each of these 4 areas of your life. If not daily, at least in a week, you must have touched substantially these 4 areas of your life. Your body is important for the vision. That's why we talk about your physical strength. That's why we talk about your physique. Because even if you have a great vision and yet you don't live right, you don't live healthy, what happens is that vision is going to die and you won't fulfill 1/3 of it. So it's very important that you work on daily disciplines, both for your physical readiness, your mental capacity. You want to push your mind, you want to learn, you want to solve critical things, you want to solve problems, you want to be strong mentally, you want to gain more spiritual fervency, you want to gain more spiritual capacity, you want to sit, you want to learn to pray, you want to worship, you just want to be in the presence of God, you want to learn to walk with God. It's part of your daily disciplines. You want to go for knowledge, you want to study God's word, you want to study the field God has called you into, you want to study what is needed for the vision, how to push the vision, how the operations of the vision should work. You want to create your own operational manual on how to achieve your vision. The third thing there is you want to be focused. You don't want to do multiple things, especially when it comes to training and being set. So when you create a routine, you see it's from one activity to the next, one activity to the next. So you're not trying to juggle between reading, praying, sleeping, dancing, studying, wiring, all at the same time. No, it's from one activity to the next. And it's important that your life is being structured this way. Now, your question will be, how do you eliminate distractions? How do you eliminate distractions? I know this will be one of the critical questions that most of you will ask. And like I said earlier, keeping up with your routines is one of the things that would help you eliminate distractions. Having an accountability circle is another thing that would help you to cut off distractions. So when your brother, when your sister, when your friends see you do things that they know you're not supposed to do, they call you and they put you in check. And it's very important that you have solid people around you, especially when it comes to your vision, especially when it comes to what God has called you to do. Ensure you have solid people around you, people that care about where you're going. So wrapping up that now, you're not called to everything. You're not called to everyone. You're called to specific vision. You're called to a specific purpose. And then you must get set for it. Like I said earlier on, if you're going far, then you have to drill in a lot. You have to work, you have to train a lot. A tree first goes downwards, builds a strong root, then it goes upwards. And it's very important. You don't just want to shine or appear. No, you want to stay through trainings. You want to have certain disciplines that becomes part of you. So we're gradually getting ready for success, and I want you to not just be ready, not just to set, but then to be focused. Keep up with your daily routines, keep up with your daily plans, keep up with every single thing you set out to do. And I assure you, like I said, success is not in a void. It comes with your training, it comes with every single thing you're putting together or you're gathering together for this moment. It's more like you're building that momentum to tick on the word to win the prize. And don't forget our slogan for this series, which is for you to be the rare man, for you to be the exceptional man, for you to be the teachable man or woman. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'd also like to encourage you to follow us on Instagram, and I'd also like you to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Thank you so much, and remain blessed.